Today we'll be doing the full book review of Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion. Let us get this started with right now at this second. Okay, so Bernard Shaw has written Pygmalion as basically a reworking or retelling, I suppose, of the not the George one, the Roman or Greek ancient myth. This is most likely the Greek one. So the Greeks went ahead and they had this myth where, if you watch my video on the actual Greek myth, where there's a sculptor, he went ahead and carved the most beautiful woman in the entire world that he could literally imagine of in his little idealized life. And he went ahead and fondled it, became friends with it, and became infatuated by it, until one day, like after praying to Aphrodite, she finally came alive, and as a result, she became an actual woman, and he was able to live with her for a very, very long time. Now, this is the lived happily ever after kind of story, so don't expect things to be that well inside the actual story. But this is what happened for the Greek myth. Now, Bernard Shaw decided to put this into a little twist. He put it into a Victorian England kind of stylist kind of life, where this is modern day Victorian England, but in his version of modern day, obviously, this was like 1914. And as we go ahead and see the journey of our Pygmalion-like figure, going ahead and reworking our little lady into something of a little better, this little common street lady into something that is even more, into something that could be more, and she passes off like a lady, he goes ahead and starts on the outside, just makes it seems like someone can rise up into high statuses and things like that, but underneath all that kind of thing, he goes ahead and shows us that he is mocking the English society of how they go ahead and just perceive people in the sense of like appearances. They care more about how they talk than what they talk. They don't care about any of the intellects that they have. In fact, usually poor people are more intelligent than the intellect. And that's literally how it all works out. Him also going ahead, this is not dollars, this is England, so it's probably pounds. He even goes ahead and satirizes even the money thing, where there's a little subplot of Mr. Higgins going ahead and accidentally offering a job and a good, middle class position towards Mr. Doolittle's Eliza, our main character, who becomes a lady's father, where he goes ahead and becomes well off and becomes a very posh gentleman, but he's all like, middle classery is not for me, and I cannot be free, I cannot do my alcohol anymore. Which just goes to show that money doesn't always bring happiness. He was far more content living the life of an alcoholic and a little low life street guy. Now, that's pretty much everything that I could really think of from the start, and other than that, there's just nothing else that I could think of. And now with all that over, we go ahead and finally witness the idealism of how this guy gets his work. So this is the full play. The full play itself is just a reworking of the twisting, where instead of like a statue, we have an actual lady who goes ahead and is molded into some sort of a lady-like kind of person in the sense of Victorian England. And when all that is over, our person goes ahead and decides to shun it in the sense of like, not the happy story as we found in the actual myth. We've shun it in the sense of like, she goes ahead and figures out that this life is just not worth living for, and that nothing in this world will be ever worth living for again. And ends up corrupting her so much that she decides to run away, but she does instead learn something about herself. She learns more about self-respect and these little ideals that we go ahead and figure out. Now, self-respect by itself, it's an incredible thing, and it's probably more important than any other being in any other kind of feeling in the entire universe. Also, respect your own self before you can get others to respect others. If you don't respect your own self, then you pretty much don't have a life worth living with. Like, you don't respect your own body and things, and you don't respect your own things. You don't respect your own mind. Like how you go ahead and try to change your mind so often, that's just not going to work for you. You just have to be who you are. Some people are hardwired to become certain people that might be terrible people and might not become beneficial towards the rest of society, or might be harmful towards most of society. But either way, that's what happened, and that's how this is going to be. And because of that, this is why we're in this kind of familiar situation. Bernard Shaw himself didn't really write Pygmalion itself, and probably one of the best parts of the play is the fact that there is no such thing as the romantic ending. where in the classic tale of the times, in the plays of time, where the male protagonist who would fall in love with his own creation, and then because he fell in love with his own creation, they would go ahead and get together and live together happily ever after. Well, Bernard Shaw didn't do that. He went ahead and showed everyone that good endings can happen without the romantic kind of stuff, and that women do not need men's support or approval to go ahead and get a very, very good happy ending. She herself went ahead and made her own decisions. She decided to live a life of self-respect, albeit a little bit difficult one, with the common class Freddie, who she actually respects too and really, really loves as well too. She eventually does her own choices, where she even opens her own flower shop, which he would go ahead and be horrified at and everything, seeing that he will miss her a lot. This probably puts him under life support a lot, so I'm gonna have to leave him here. Now, my thoughts on the play is that it is brilliant at telling people that they suck and that this society has different ideals that today we might find normal. We might find it normal that certain ideals go ahead and figure out the fact that, hey, everyone in our lives are going ahead and getting out. Our lives might have all these little ideals implanted inside of us, but we all know that those ideals are false. Some people might love the romantic kind of ideal, yeah, sure, but like, that doesn't need to be the case. If that's always the case, then we don't get any fresh new ideas. And because of these little anomalies in our space-time continuum, aka by evolution, it's not even a space-time continuum, it's just our evolution biology, we go ahead and figure out the fact that some people will figure out some different ideas, and because of those ideas we go ahead and start thinking of everything too. Like, if we try to go ahead and explain all of this towards people in the past, they have no way to know what we're talking about because they don't have a literal reference point to talk about. Then we talk about a speakerphone, and then we go ahead and let's say we show Sir Isaac Newton about the speakerphone and tell him that there's no miniature audience inside, there's just recording and a lot of digital stuff, and then it just comes out, this noise comes out. Now, he probably goes, Sir Isaac Newton has no idea to know, or really has no idea to understand any of this, since he has nothing of the sort too. ROMs and CDs wouldn't be a thing for a very, very long time. In fact, it wouldn't come out until like 500 years later. Okay, maybe not that long, but centuries later. But the thing is, that is how we go ahead and learn this throughout lives. We go ahead, and Pygmalion is the perfect story to go ahead and learn to respect ourselves, and also to be somewhat of a feminist, because women themselves can be empowering. Women don't need a man to go ahead and tell them what to do. And yeah, that is very, very true. And you must also respect the woman's own conscience and feelings. Otherwise, she will feel caged and lonely, and we don't want that happening, do we? So that's it. That's my review of Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion. I hope you guys do read this book for all the reasons I just gave out. I gave you my thoughts on the book. I give it a rating of 8 out of 10. I only give it like, it isn't a 9 out of 10, mostly because it's very short, but it's very, very high because even in this short amount of time, he's able to develop every sort of plot point that he could do, possibly. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope to see you guys soon. Until next time, here on One Piece. Bye bye!